Yes, people. It's Jacob on the one up top. Firstly, before I go and dissect this game that we've just watched, like, share, subscribe, do all of that, comment, cuss me out, do whatever you got to do just for the engagement to help the channel grow. There's going to be a few more things coming out this week. I'm hopefully going to get on TikTok and just start mashing up work on there. But more important to what I'm about to speak on, the game that we've witnessed this afternoon, 3 o'clock kickoff, Tottenham at home to Burnley. Score was Tottenham 3, Burnley 0. Now, before the game, I said it to myself, I said it to my son, I'll be happy with a 7 out of 10 performance. You know, I don't expect us to play brilliant football straight off the back of last season. I'm not expecting us to eradicate all the mistakes, but I just wanted us to feed off from the game at PSG. You know, PSG, we played like Brentford would against the big boys, and I was happy with that, because if we tried to knock it around and not adapt, I don't care about PSG's fitness, the quality would have prevailed, and that's what eventually did anyway to get PSG to draw. You know, if they were fit, might have gone on to beat us quite comfortably. So, yeah, you know, if I'm going to go on the obvious points will be good games all round. You know, the people that shone were Kudus again. You know, there's not much in an attacking sense that he can't do, really. You know, of course, as time will tell, you'd like to think that he needs to, you know, grab himself a few goals. But today, 2 assists, 2 brilliant assists, both with his right foot as well, you know, considering he's predominantly left-footed. So I'll give him a good 8 out of 10. You know, but the man of the match is obviously going to go to Richarlison. We all know in football, goals win you games. And not only did he score 2 today, he scored 2 brilliant goals. You know, if you ain't seen the goal already, an overhead kick from across, Garnacho-esque. Obviously, Garnacho's was a lot better. But, you know, this was a good goal, considering I was complaining about how we're going to get goals this season. You know, those are the 2 obvious ones. But, you know, everyone else was pretty much a 7 out of 10. I think if there was going to be a concern, one was the fact that Burnley at times were, they found it pretty easy to come through our midfield. However, I forgive our midfield for that, because it was quite useful. You know, Bergvall and Archie Gray aren't really defensive midfielders. They play centrally, but they'd probably be midfielders that are used to someone in front of them. You know, I don't see Archie Gray as a ball-winning midfielder. I feel that if we had Paulinho in there, he would have broke up a few more attacks. But from my perspective, what Ange didn't do right, and a lot of managers at Tottenham haven't done right, is that we've got to understand the squad that we've got. You know, so if we've got your Archie Grays that we see as rotation, if you've got your Odegaards, your Tells and all that, it makes sense to give them minutes, because at least they can familiarise themselves and get involved in the squad. And then at least if we do have an injury crisis, people are coming in that are used to getting minutes. Whereas when we played with Ange, we had a massive, you know, influx of injuries, and then Archie Gray's playing left back, then right back, then centre back, then he's all over the place. Bergvall went from somebody that might go on loan to being integral, which it worked for him. But then there were certain players that just became disillusioned, and we became used to just losing games or being happy with draws, just because everyone felt sorry for us. I don't want to be that team that everyone feels sorry for. I want everybody to be involved, and if we finish top 8 and we're playing good football and we have a couple of good runs, I'm okay with that. Do you know what I mean? I just want something that looks like it's on its way to something. You know, Thomas Frank does give me Poch vibes. It's just with a bit more tactical nous. You know, he went into PSG back 3, something that I've been crying for under Ange for time. You know, Mickey van der Ven can come in at a left-sided over 3. Danso's a good addition. And then you've got Romero, who can just orchestrate everything, considering now that he's the new skipper. And it worked for us, PSG. You know, for me, I was going into that game, obviously you want to win the cup. It's all about the performance, because if we'd drawn 2-2 and got absolutely peppered, it'd be more concerning for me going into the Burnley game. But I went in with my chin up after that performance, because, you know, the Super Cup is a cup. Of course I wanted it, but I wanted it more just because, one, we're not a club that should be entitled to say we don't want a cup. But more importantly, is for the banter. You know, you had PSG knocking out every single English club in the Champions League last year. So I just wanted to go around and wind a few people up, saying that, well, they didn't do that to Tottenham, but obviously they did it with us as well. So that proves the absolute strength of the PSG side. But yeah, going back to Tottenham, good start. I wanted a 7 out of 10. I even said to Austin, my son, I'll be happy with a 3-0. Just to put a smile on my face, you know, enjoy the rest of the football. You know, we got Wolves, Man City coming up in a minute, which is down the road, funnily enough. Like, and you'll be able to hear the fans from my house, but we're going to watch that game there. So I just wanted a comfortable afternoon. You know, we all see the banana skins. You know, everyone says play a promoted team and you should get a result. We've just seen West Ham get spanked by Sunderland. I've just seen the result. So, you know, you can't take every game as promised, but I'm happy with Thomas Frank over the last 2 games and in the friendlies. You know, he's chopped and changed, he's got people involved, and he's shown that he's going to be adaptable. Now, for me, before I go, one thing I do feel that we lacked was going through central areas, because it was very direct. It was get the ball out to Kudus, see what we can do. Brennan Johnson on the other side, swinging it in. And I like that, but we can't just rely on that, because Arsenal have been criticised for not winning the league, let's say, or getting where they're supposed to be by playing Stoke City football. That's pretty much what we're doing. But then what we need is maybe some characters in the central of midfield, just so we don't play that, because you're not going to do that if we bring in, say, Eze. You're not going to do that when Maddison comes back, you know, because at the minute, I'm happy with us doing it this way, because we haven't got a number 10. You know, Pape Sarr's playing in there who can do a job. And the advantages of playing Pape Sarr in a number 10 is he's able to press from the front. So, yeah, 7 out of 10 for me. Needed a solid victory. Happy with a clean sheet. We don't see too many of them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I don't think we saw hardly any last time. I can't even remember the last time we kept a clean sheet. We were getting spanked that much that conceding 2 goals was nice. So, yeah, it's a good start to the season. You know, we needed a solid platform, considering we've got to go to the Etihad. I'm interested to see how Man City get on against Wolves now, because then that gives me and Thomas Frank more importantly, a metric to work with and to be able to understand what he's going to need to do. And for me, I'm happy with Thomas Frank going into the bigger games, the Man Cities, the Arsenals and Chelseas. I said it to my friend this morning. I'm not actually worried about Spurs going into your Man Cities, your Arsenals, your Chelseas, your Liverpools, and some Champions League games of that standard, just because Thomas Frank has shown all of us that he can get a team that are classed as underdogs. And if you have Thomas Frank and a team as an underdog, the likelihood is he gets a result. Whereas I was more concerned about these type of games where, you know, if we ain't scored in the first 20 minutes, the crowd are down. I was more worried about that. But, you know, with players that probably most Spurs fans didn't even see starting the game, have gone and won us the game in Brennan Johnson and Richarlison. So, you know, we're all susceptible to moaning and saying Brennan Johnson, for instance, doesn't get involved in the game. And that does irk me. He doesn't do much in the game. But as I said at the beginning of this video, goals win games. You know, Richarlison does a bit more. He'll go around, he'll dive on the floor, he'll win a foul. And he does have the odd game like this. But with my issue with Richarlison's been consistency and his injuries. You know, injuries I can't blame him for, but he just needs to be consistent. And maybe the injuries are the reasons why he's not consistent. Who knows? But, you know, if Thomas Frank can get a tune out of him and then Solanke comes off the bench and he starts scoring goals, you know, not only am I happy, the bald guy upstairs will be happy, because there's 2 £60 million investments that start bearing fruits from one manager, which to me is music to everybody's ears, because if we're succeeding on the pitch, as well as Daniel Levy succeeding with his decisions, that's what we all want. But at the minute, it comes across that Daniel Levy's decisions, a lot of the time, are costing us. So before I end this video, I know Daniel's not watching this, but I'm going to put it into your universe. If you want to make a decision, Daniel, go to South London, go and get Eberechi in a nice little car, buy him a yard and get him to the lane, because these are the sort of players that we need when we're playing your Burnleys to make sure we unlock our defence. Because if we go and play a team that are happy to concede crosses, I don't know what we would have done in that game. So, yeah, that's me done and dusted. the next video I'm probably going to do is I'm going to do a roundup sort of Monday, Tuesday, once all the league games are done, just to wrap up the weekend's events. That's something I want to do more regularly, because a lot of people have said to me, as much as I've got good points on Tottenham, start talking about football in general, which is what I want to do. So I'll be doing weekend roundups. I'll be doing Only Fools and Tottenham in the midweek. You know, Champions League and all the cup games will be coming up. I'm just going to be out there, more Tottenham, more YouTube. I'm going to be more active on Twitter, and look out for when I sign up on TikTok. So yeah, love people, for those who have liked, subscribed and shared. And if it's the first time you're watching it, please do the same. Have a blessed weekend, people. Jacob on the one up top.